Part 1 on Transcendental Being and its Attributes Considered in General, and specifically on the Attribute 1. Chapter 1 on Transcendental Being. Article 1 on the Transcendentals in General. Etymologically, the word transcendental is derived from the words trans or beyond in scandere or to rise. Among moderns, transcendent refers for the greater part what is above experience, e.g. Kant, or what exceeds the human mind. Among scholastics, however, transcendent or transcendental is customarily applied to those abstract but real concepts or first intentions that, because of their extent or universality, cannot be reduced to the categories, namely being, thing, something, one, etc. In Aquinas and Neo-Scholastics generally, the name is customarily limited to the 6 notions that are common to everything, namely being, thing, something, one, true, and good. But in Scotist, transcendent and transcendental have a wider meaning. Quote, "To the idea of the transcendent," he says, "belongs not having a predicate superior to it save being, but accidentally to it, it is that it is common to many things below it," unquote. This question is perhaps merely about words, but the Scotistic designation seems to me a happier one, for among all the scholastics, metaphysics was generally a transcendental science, as is plain in the way they explain the etymology of the word. For metaphysics transcends all the other real sciences by reason of its subject, namely being, and this subject's attributes. Among these attributes, which are properly consequent to being qua being, all the scholastics were accustomed, following Avicenna, Algazel, etc., to count not only one, true, and good, but also the disjunctive attributes that, quote, divide every being and every kind of being, unquote, namely act and potency, contingent and necessary, and the like. Now, all things that of this sort that fall under the Scotistic definition of transcendental. Hence, metaphysics can both happily and accurately be described as a transcendental science in the sense that the metaphysician deals with reality in its transcendental aspects. Definition of transcendental. So, following the lead of Scotus, a transcendental can be defined negatively as what cannot be contained under any kind, or positively as what belongs to being as being is indifferent to infinite and finite, or as being is proper to infinite being. The formal idea of the transcendent, then, lies not in that it is commonly predicated of every being, but that it is beyond every kind. Division of transcendentals. The transcendental can be divided into 4 classes. Being, which is the first among the transcendentals. That being is a transcendental notion is plain from the definitions adduced above, for being is common to all the categories and so can be confined to none of them. Being also belongs with itself before it is divided into infinite and finite, and so is indifferent to both. Being is first because the other transcendentals are attributed to being as subject, and something has to be presupposed as the subject to which they are attributed. 2. Properties and attributes simply convertible with being, namely one, true, and good. 3. Properties disjunctively convertible with being, namely infinite or finite, transient or permanent, actual or potential, etc. For these properties, like the others, belong to being before it is divided into kinds. 4. Other pure perfections, or those that can be predicated of God. For although these perfections are neither simply nor disjunctively convertible with being, they are a true transcendental notions because they are predicable of God, who is beyond every kind and category, belonging only to finite and limited beings. Note on the notion of perfection. The term perfect, from the verb meaning to carry through or bring to a finished state, signifies complete or fully made. So perfection is everything that is required for a thing to be complete or whole. The complex of all such, whether distinct really or formally or in reason, is called the total perfection of a thing, but singly they are called partial perfections, or simply perfections of the thing. Therefore, whatever it is better to have than not have is simply a perfection in whatever it has. Perfection can be divided into 1. Positive and negative, as what is conceived as perfecting a thing is an entity or being, or a lack of entity or being. So, for example, humanity, capacity for laughter, head, hand, eye, thoughts, affections of the soul, etc., are positive perfections in man. A hollowed finger, pincers in an earwig, absence of superfluous weight in a man, and the like are negative perfections. 2. Essential and existential perfections, insofar as the perfection is conceived as perfecting the thing and what the thing is, for example, simplicity, unity, matter, form, etc., or as perfecting it in the way it is, for example, independence, actuality, necessity, contingency, etc. 3. Pure or mixed perfections, insofar as the perfection in its precise idea does not or does include some imperfection. So life, intelligence, freedom, etc. include no imperfection, while on the contrary, matter, composition, reasoning, etc. do include imperfection.